The Arizona desert stretched endlessly under the blazing afternoon sun as rancher Wyatt Turner guided his horse along the fence line of his sprawling cattle operation. At 45, Wyatt had weathered many storms, both literal and metaphorical, but nothing had prepared him for the sight that awaited him near the old cottonwood grove at the edge of his property. A small figure sat huddled beneath the largest tree, partially hidden by its massive trunk. As Wyatt drew closer, he could see it was a child, a little girl who couldn't have been more than 6 years old. Her long dark hair was tangled with burrs and dust, and her pink dress, though torn and dirty, suggested she hadn't been out here long. Wyatt dismounted slowly, not wanting to startle the child. He'd lived alone on this ranch for the better part of 15 years, ever since his divorce, and had little experience with children. But something about the girl's posture, the way she sat perfectly still, staring out at the horizon, told him she was in trouble. "Hey there, little one," Wyatt called softly, keeping his distance. "Are you okay?" The child turned toward him, and Wyatt felt his heart clench. Her face was streaked with tears and dirt, but it was her eyes that struck him most, large brown eyes that held a depth of sadness no child should ever carry. "I'm lost," she said simply, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've been walking for a long time and I can't find my way back." Wyatt knelt down to her level, his weathered hands resting on his knees. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Lucy," she replied, wiping her nose with the back of her small hand. "Lucy Martinez. I live with my grandma, but I got scared and ran away, and now I don't know where I am." "Well, Lucy Martinez, my name is Wyatt Turner, and this is my ranch. You're safe now." He gestured toward the vast landscape around them. "How long have you been out here?" Lucy's lower lip trembled. "Since this morning, I think. The sun was just coming up when I left Grandma's house. I was running and running, and then I got tired and sat down here to rest." Wyatt calculated the distance in his head. His ranch was at least 20 miles from the nearest town, and the child would have had to cross some rough terrain to get here. She was lucky to be alive. "Lucy, can you tell me why you ran away from your grandma's house?" Fresh tears spilled down Lucy's cheeks. "Because she told me something that made me really scared, and I didn't want it to happen." Wyatt's protective instincts kicked in immediately. "What did she tell you that scared you so much?" Lucy looked down at her dirty hands, her voice becoming even smaller. She said that I'm really sick, and that I'm going to go to heaven soon to be with my mama. But Mr. Wyatt, I don't want to go to heaven yet. I want to stay here with Grandma." The words hit Wyatt like a physical blow. He'd seen enough of life to recognize the weight of what the child was telling him. She was dying, and in her innocent way, she was trying to run from death itself. "Oh, sweetheart," Wyatt said, his voice thick with emotion. "Come here." Without hesitation, Lucy scrambled into his arms, her small body trembling as she clung to him. Wyatt held her close, feeling the fragility of her tiny frame and the rapid beating of her heart against his chest. "Lucy, I need to get you back to your grandma. She must be worried sick about you." Lucy pulled back to look at him, her eyes wide with fear. "But what if she tries to send me to heaven? I'm not ready to go, Mr. Wyatt. I don't know what it's like there, and what if it hurts?" Wyatt felt tears prick his own eyes. How do you explain death to a 6-year-old? How do you comfort a child who's facing something that terrifies even adults? "Lucy, can I tell you something important?" She nodded solemnly. "First of all, your grandma can't send you to heaven. That's not how it works. And second, I don't think heaven hurts. I think heaven is a place where people go when their bodies are too tired to work anymore, and where they get to be happy and peaceful forever." "But how do you know?" Lucy asked. "Have you ever been there?" Wyatt smiled sadly. "No, sweetheart, I haven't. But I've known some very good people who went to heaven, and I believe they're happy there." Lucy was quiet for a moment, processing his words. "Mr. Wyatt, will you help me call my grandma? I think I'm ready to go home now." "Of course I will. But first, let's get you cleaned up and get some food in you. You must be hungry and thirsty." Lucy nodded eagerly. "I am really thirsty, and my tummy has been making noises." Wyatt lifted Lucy onto his horse, settling her safely in front of him before heading back toward his ranch house. As they rode, Lucy peppered him with questions about the desert, the cattle, and his life on the ranch. Her curiosity and resilience amazed him. Despite everything she was going through, she was still a typical 6-year-old, eager to learn about the world around her. The ranch house came into view as the sun began its descent toward the western mountains. It was a modest but comfortable adobe structure that Wyatt had built himself, surrounded by a few outbuildings and corrals. Nothing fancy, but it was home. "It's beautiful," Lucy said as they approached. "Do you live here all by yourself?" "I do," Wyatt replied. "Just me and my horses and cattle. Don't you get lonely?" The question was innocent enough, but it struck at something deep inside Wyatt. "Sometimes I do, Lucy. But I keep pretty busy, and I have my animals for company." "Animals are good company," Lucy agreed. "Grandma has a cat named Whiskers, and he always makes me feel better when I'm sad." Wyatt helped Lucy down from the horse and led her toward the house. "Let's get you inside and cleaned up, and then we'll call your grandma." As they walked up the front steps, Lucy suddenly stopped and tugged on Wyatt's sleeve. "Mr. Wyatt?" "Yes, sweetheart. If I do have to go to heaven soon, will it hurt when I see my mama? I miss her so much, but I'm scared it might be scary." Wyatt knelt down and took Lucy's small hands in his own large, weathered ones. The innocence of her question, combined with the gravity of what she was facing, nearly broke his heart completely. "Lucy, I think when you see your mama in heaven, it will be the most wonderful, happy feeling in the whole world. I think she's been waiting for you with the biggest smile and the warmest hug you can imagine." "Really?" Lucy's eyes brightened slightly. "Really. And I don't think it will hurt at all. I think it will feel like coming home." Lucy nodded, seeming satisfied with his answer for the moment. "Can we call Grandma now? I think she's probably really worried about me." "Absolutely. Let's get you inside." Indeed, as Wyatt opened the front door and ushered Lucy into his home, he realized that this small, brave child had already changed something fundamental inside him. In the space of an hour, his quiet, solitary world had been turned upside down by a little girl running from death itself. But as he looked at Lucy's trusting face, Wyatt knew that he would do whatever it took to help her through whatever lay ahead. Sometimes life brought you exactly what you didn't know you needed, wrapped in the most unexpected packages. If you're moved by Lucy and Wyatt's story, please hit that like button and tell us in the comments which city you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe for more touching stories. The Call Home. Inside the ranch house, Wyatt was struck by how empty and masculine his home seemed through a child's eyes. The living room was functional but sparse. A leather couch, a coffee table made from an old wagon wheel, and walls decorated with cattle brands and landscape photographs. It wasn't exactly child-friendly. Lucy looked around with wide eyes, taking in everything with the curiosity of someone seeing a completely different world. "It's really clean," she observed. "Grandma says most men don't keep their houses very clean." Wyatt chuckled despite the gravity of the situation. "Well, I try my best. Come on, let's get you cleaned up before we make that phone call." He led Lucy to the bathroom, where he found a clean washcloth and towel. As she washed her face and hands, Wyatt noticed how carefully she moved, as if every action required extra effort. The reality of her illness was becoming more apparent with each passing moment. "Mr. Wyatt," Lucy said as she dried her hands, "do you know what's wrong with me? Grandma uses big words I don't understand." Wyatt knelt down to her level again. "What kinds of words does she use?" "She says I have something called leukemia, and that it makes me really tired and sometimes makes my tummy hurt." Leukemia. Wyatt's heart sank even further. He'd lost his own father to cancer years ago and knew the devastating path this disease could take. "That's a hard word, isn't it?" he said gently. "It means that some of the cells in your body aren't working the way they should. But Lucy, there are doctors who know how to help people with that sickness." "Grandma says I've been to lots of doctors and they've done everything they can," Lucy said matter-of-factly. "She says sometimes bodies just get too tired to keep fighting." The acceptance in her voice was heartbreaking. This little girl had clearly heard these conversations before and had processed them with the straightforward honesty that only children possessed. "Are you ready to call your grandma now?" Wyatt asked. Lucy nodded. "She's probably really worried. I left a note, but I don't think I spelled everything right." They walked to the kitchen, where Wyatt's old landline phone sat on the counter. "What's your grandma's phone number, sweetheart?" Lucy recited the number with perfect precision, and Wyatt dialed. The phone rang only once before a frantic voice answered. "Hello? Ma'am, my name is Wyatt Turner. I believe I have someone here who belongs to you." "Lucy. Oh, dear God, is Lucy with you? Is she okay?" Wyatt could hear the relief and fear in the woman's voice. "She's safe, ma'am. A little tired and hungry, but she's okay. She found her way to my ranch about 20 miles east of town." 20 miles? How did she... "Oh, Lucy, what were you thinking?" The woman's voice cracked with emotion. "Would you like to talk to her?" Wyatt asked. "Yes, please. Please, yes." Wyatt handed the phone to Lucy, who clutched it with both small hands. "Grandma, I'm sorry I ran away. I got scared about what you told me, and I thought if I ran far enough, maybe it wouldn't happen." Wyatt could hear the woman crying on the other end of the line, her voice muffled as she spoke to Lucy. He stepped away to give them privacy, but he could still catch fragments of the conversation. "I know, Mija. I was so scared. Never run away like that again. Love you so much." After several minutes, Lucy handed the phone back to Wyatt. "Mr. Turner, this is Elena Martinez, Lucy's grandmother. I can't thank you enough for finding her and keeping her safe. She's been having a hard time accepting some news we got from her doctors recently." "I understand, Mrs. Martinez. She told me a little bit about what's going on. I'll come get her right now. Can you give me directions to your ranch?" Wyatt glanced outside, noting that the sun was getting lower in the sky. "Mrs. Martinez, it's going to be getting dark soon, and the roads out here can be tricky if you're not familiar with them. Why don't you let me bring Lucy to you? I know these roads like the back of my hand." "Are you sure? I don't want to impose..." "It's no imposition at all. Where would you like me to meet you?" After arranging to meet at the local hospital in town, Wyatt hung up the phone and turned to Lucy, who was sitting at his kitchen table looking very small and tired. "Are you hungry, sweetheart? We have a little time before we need to leave." Lucy nodded. "My tummy is making those noises again." Wyatt opened his refrigerator and surveyed its bachelor contents. Leftover pizza, some questionable milk, and not much else that would appeal to a 6-year-old. He rummaged through his pantry and found a can of chicken noodle soup and some crackers. "How does soup sound?" he asked. "That sounds perfect. Mama used to make me soup when I wasn't feeling good." As Wyatt heated the soup, Lucy told him more about her mother, who had died 2 years earlier in a car accident. Her father had left when she was a baby, so her grandmother Eleanor had become her whole world. "Grandma does her best," Lucy said, as Wyatt placed a bowl of soup in front of her. "But sometimes I can tell she gets really sad about me being sick. She tries to hide it, but I see her crying sometimes when she thinks I'm sleeping." Wyatt sat across from her with his own bowl. "That must be hard for both of you." "Yeah," Lucy said, blowing on a spoonful of soup. "Sometimes I pretend I'm not as scared as I really am, so Grandma won't be even more sad." The wisdom and selflessness of this child continued to amaze Wyatt. Here she was, facing the unthinkable, and she was worried about protecting her grandmother's feelings. "Lucy, can I tell you something?" She looked up at him with those large brown eyes. "I think it's okay to be scared sometimes. And I think it's okay to tell your grandma when you're scared. She loves you, and she wants to help you through this." Lucy considered this as she ate her soup. "Mr. Wyatt, are you scared of dying?" The directness of her question caught him off guard, but he realized she deserved an honest answer. "Yes, Lucy, I am sometimes. I think most people are. But you know what I've learned?" "What?" "I've learned that being scared of something doesn't mean you can't be brave about it too. You can be scared and brave at the same time." Lucy smiled for the first time since he'd found her. "I think you're right. I was scared today when I was lost, but I was also brave because I kept walking until I found you." "That's exactly right. You were very brave." As they finished their soup, Lucy asked Wyatt about his life on the ranch. He told her about his cattle, his horses, and the quiet satisfaction he found in the work. He found himself sharing things he rarely talked about: his love for the desert landscape, his appreciation for the simple rhythms of ranch life, and yes, even his loneliness. "Maybe you could visit me and Grandma sometime," Lucy suggested. "We live in a little yellow house near the park. Grandma makes really good cookies, and she likes to hear stories about different places." "I'd like that," Wyatt said, surprised to realize he meant it. "I'd like that very much." As the sun began to set, painting the desert sky in brilliant shades of orange and red, Wyatt loaded Lucy into his pickup truck for the drive to town. She sat in the passenger seat, buckled carefully into the seatbelt, looking even smaller against the truck's large interior. "Mr. Wyatt," she said as they drove through the gathering dusk, "thank you for taking care of me today, and thank you for telling me that heaven won't hurt." "You're welcome, sweetheart. And Lucy, I want you to remember something." Lucy looked at him expectantly. "No matter what happens, you're not alone. You have your grandma who loves you very much, and now you have me too. I'm your friend, and friends take care of each other." Lucy smiled, and for a moment she looked like any other 6-year-old going on an evening drive. "I'm glad I got lost today, Mr. Wyatt, because if I hadn't gotten lost, I wouldn't have found you." Wyatt felt his throat tighten with emotion. "I'm glad you found me too, Lucy. I'm really glad you found me too." As they drove toward town, the lights of the hospital growing brighter in the distance, Wyatt realized that this little girl had given him something he hadn't even known he was missing. She had reminded him what it felt like to be needed, to matter to someone, to have a purpose beyond just taking care of cattle and maintaining fence lines. Tomorrow he would go back to his quiet ranch, and Lucy would go back to her grandmother's yellow house near the park, but neither of their lives would ever be quite the same. An unexpected bond. The hospital parking lot was nearly empty when Wyatt pulled up to the main entrance. Through the large glass windows, he could see an elderly Hispanic woman pacing back and forth in the lobby, her hands clasped tightly together. Even from a distance, he could see the worry etched in every line of her body. "Is that Grandma?" Lucy asked, peering through the windshield. "I think it is, sweetheart." The moment Elena Martinez saw Lucy through the glass doors, she burst outside, tears streaming down her weathered cheeks. Lucy ran to her, and Elena swept her up in a fierce embrace, speaking rapid Spanish mixed with English. "Mija, my baby, I was so scared. Don't ever do that again, por favor. Don't ever run away like that." "I'm sorry, Grandma. I was just so scared about what you told me." Wyatt stood back, watching the reunion with a mixture of relief and unexpected sadness. He'd only known Lucy for a few hours, but the thought of saying goodbye to her felt surprisingly difficult. Eleanor looked up at him over Lucy's head, her eyes still wet with tears. "Mr. Turner, I don't know how to thank you. When I found her note this morning, when I realized she was gone..." She couldn't finish the sentence. "There's no need to thank me, Mrs. Martinez. I'm just glad I found her when I did." Eleanor gently set Lucy down, but kept one arm around her granddaughter's shoulders. "Please, call me Eleanor, and I insist on taking you to dinner. It's the least I can do." "That's really not necessary." "It is necessary," Elena said firmly. "You saved my granddaughter's life. You probably don't realize how dangerous it is for a child to be out in that desert alone, especially a child who..." She glanced down at Lucy, choosing her words carefully. "A child who gets tired easily," Lucy finished matter-of-factly. "It's okay, Grandma. I told Mr. Wyatt about my leukemia." Elena's eyes widened slightly, then she looked at Wyatt with a mixture of surprise and gratitude. "She told you about her leukemia?" Wyatt nodded. "She's a remarkable little girl, Elena. Very brave and very honest." "She is," Elena agreed, her voice thick with pride and pain. "Sometimes too honest for her own good. Come, there's a diner across the street that stays open late. I want to hear exactly how you found her." The three of them crossed the street to Rosita's Diner, a small, family-owned restaurant with red vinyl booths and the comforting smell of home-cooked Mexican food. Elena chose a booth in the back corner, and Lucy scooted in beside her grandmother while Wyatt sat across from them. "I still can't believe you walked 20 miles, Eleanor said, smoothing Lucy's tangled hair. "What were you thinking, mija?" Lucy looked down at her hands. "I thought if I ran far enough away, maybe the sickness couldn't find me. I know it sounds silly now." "It doesn't sound silly," Wyatt said gently. "When we're scared, we all want to run away sometimes, even grown-ups." Elena studied Wyatt's face. "You have children of your own, Mr. Turner." "No, I don't. Never been blessed with any." He paused, then added, "Been living alone on my ranch for about 15 years now." 15 years alone, that's a long time. "It is," Wyatt admitted. "But after my divorce, I guess I just got used to the quiet." Lucy perked up. "Were you married before, Mr. Wyatt?" "I was for a few years, but sometimes people grow apart, and that's what happened with us." The waitress came over and Eleanor ordered coffee, while Wyatt requested the same. Lucy asked for hot chocolate with extra marshmallows, which made both adults smile. "Tell me about your ranch," Elena said once the waitress had left. Lucy was very excited about the horses and cattle. As Wyatt described his operation, he found himself watching the interplay between grandmother and granddaughter. Elena was clearly devoted to Lucy, anticipating her needs, making sure she was comfortable, keeping a subtle but constant eye on her energy level. And Lucy, despite her young age, was equally attentive to her grandmother's emotions, offering small comforts and reassurances. "How long has Lucy been sick?" Wyatt asked gently during a lull in the conversation. Eleanor's face tightened with pain. "We got the diagnosis 8 months ago. She'd been getting tired easily, getting sick more often than usual. At first, I thought it was just, normal childhood things. But then the bruising started, and she wasn't getting better." Lucy reached over and patted her grandmother's hand. "It's okay, Grandma. Dr. Rodriguez says sometimes bodies just get confused about what they're supposed to do." Wyatt marveled at how this 6-year-old was comforting her grandmother. "What do the doctors say about treatment options?" Eleanor glanced at Lucy, who was now focused on drawing pictures in the condensation on her water glass. "We've tried everything," she said quietly. "Chemotherapy, different medications, even experimental treatments. Lucy's been so brave through all of it. But last week the doctors told us—" She couldn't finish. "They told us that my body is too tired to keep fighting," Lucy said without looking up from her glass. "And that maybe it's time to just try to be comfortable and spend time with the people I love." The matter-of-fact way Lucy spoke about her prognosis hit Wyatt like a punch to the stomach. He'd dealt with death before. It was an inevitable part of ranch life. But the idea of this bright, curious, loving child facing the end of her life was almost unbearable. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "I'm so very sorry." Eleanor wiped her eyes with a napkin. "The hardest part is that she understands. She's too young to understand, but she does anyway." "I understand because everyone keeps whispering about it," Lucy said, finally looking up. "But I wish they wouldn't be so sad all the time. I'm still here right now, and I still want to do fun things and learn about horses and maybe see where Mr. Wyatt lives." Elena and Wyatt exchanged a look over Lucy's head. In that look, Wyatt saw a universe of pain, love, determination, and exhaustion. "You know what?" Wyatt said suddenly. "Maybe you could come visit the ranch sometime, both of you. I've got some gentle horses that might like to meet a new friend." Lucy's face lit up with joy. "Really? Could we, Grandma? Please?" Eleanor hesitated. "I don't know, mija. It's a long drive, and if you get tired—" "We could arrange it for a day when you're feeling strong," Wyatt suggested. "No pressure, no schedule, just a chance to see the horses and maybe have a picnic." "Oh, please, Grandma. I promise I'll rest if I get tired. I just want to see the horses, and Mr. Wyatt said he has cattle too." Eleanor looked at her granddaughter's eager face, then at Wyatt's sincere expression. "Okay," she said finally, "if you're sure it's not too much trouble." "No trouble at all," Wyatt assured her. "How about this weekend, Saturday afternoon?" As they finalized the plans, Wyatt found himself looking forward to the visit with an anticipation he hadn't felt in years. There was something about Lucy's enthusiasm and Elena's quiet strength that had awakened something in him, a desire to be part of their lives, even in some small way. When it was time to leave, Lucy hugged Wyatt tightly around the waist. "Thank you for taking care of me today, Mr. Wyatt, and thank you for being my friend. Thank you for finding me, Lucy. I didn't realize how much I needed a friend until today." As he watched Elena's car pull out of the diner parking lot, Lucy waving from the back seat, Wyatt felt a profound shift in his perspective. For 15 years, he'd been content with his solitary life, finding purpose in his work and peace in his routine. But this little girl, who was facing something unimaginably difficult with grace and courage, had shown him what he'd been missing. She'd reminded him that life was about more than just going through the motions. It was about connection, about caring for others, about finding meaning in relationships. As Wyatt drove back to his ranch under the star-filled desert sky, he realized that Saturday couldn't come soon enough. He had horses to introduce to a very special little girl, and somehow that felt like the most important thing he'd ever had to do. For the first time in years, Wyatt Turner had something to look forward to beyond the next day's chores. He had a friend to see, and despite the heartbreak that inevitably lay ahead, that friendship felt like the greatest gift he'd ever received. The greatest gift. Saturday morning arrived with the kind of crystalline clarity that only comes to the Arizona desert in late autumn. Wyatt had been awake since before dawn, not from his usual ranch routine, but from excitement. He'd spent the week preparing for Lucy and Elena's visit with the kind of care he usually reserved for important business meetings. He'd cleaned his house from top to bottom, stocked up on child-friendly snacks, and even bought a small collection of children's books about horses and ranch life. Most importantly, he'd spent extra time with his gentlest horses, making sure they would be calm and patient with a very special visitor. At exactly 2 o'clock, Elena's small sedan pulled up the long driveway. Lucy's face appeared in the passenger window, pressed against the glass with wonder as she took in the sprawling ranch landscape. "Mr. Wyatt!" Lucy called out as she climbed carefully out of the car. She was wearing a bright yellow dress and cowboy boots that were clearly new. "Your ranch looks even more beautiful than I remembered." Elena emerged from the driver's side, carrying a covered dish and moving with the cautious grace of someone constantly monitoring their precious cargo. She looked tired, but her eyes held the same warmth Wyatt remembered from their dinner at the diner. "I brought you some homemade tamales," Elena said, as Wyatt approached. "It's not much, but I wanted to contribute something to the day." "That's incredibly thoughtful, thank you." Wyatt accepted the dish, then knelt down to Lucy's level. "How are you feeling today, sweetheart? Ready to meet some horses?" "I'm feeling really good today," Lucy said with the kind of determined brightness that Wyatt was beginning to recognize. "I took my medicine this morning and ate a big breakfast, so I have lots of energy for horse adventures." As they walked toward the main corral, Wyatt noticed that Lucy moved more slowly than she had the day he found her, and Elena stayed close by her side. But Lucy's enthusiasm was undimmed as she peppered him with questions about everything they saw. "How many horses do you have? What are their names? Do they like children? Can I pet them?" "I have 6 horses," Wyatt replied patiently. "And yes, they like children very much, especially children who are gentle and kind, like you." The first horse he introduced them to was Buttercup, a golden Palomino mare with a gentle disposition and endless patience. Lucy's eyes went wide with wonder as the horse lowered her head to accept the child's careful pats. "She's so soft," Lucy whispered, her small hand stroking Buttercup's neck. "And she's so big, but she's not scary at all." "Buttercup is very special," Wyatt explained. "She seems to know when someone needs extra gentleness." Eleanor stood back, watching her granddaughter with a mixture of joy and sadness. "She's never been this close to a horse before," she told Wyatt quietly. "We always meant to take her somewhere like this, but with the treatments and the hospital visits, there's no better time than right now." Wyatt said firmly. Over the next hour, Lucy met each of Wyatt's horses, learning their names and personalities. She was enchanted by everything, the way their ears moved when they listened, the softness of their noses, the gentle, nickering sounds they made when she approached. "Mr. Wyatt," Lucy said, as they sat on hay bales watching the horses graze in the afternoon sun, "do you think there are horses in heaven?" The question came out of nowhere, and Wyatt felt Elena tense beside him. But Lucy asked it with the same innocent curiosity she'd shown about everything else. "I think there might be," Wyatt said carefully. "Why do you ask?" "Because if there are horses in heaven, then it won't be scary at all. I think I could be happy anywhere that has horses like Buttercup." Eleanor wiped her eyes discreetly, and Wyatt felt his own throat tighten with emotion. "Lucy," Eleanor said softly, "we don't have to talk about heaven today. Today is for enjoying the horses and having fun with Mr. Wyatt." "But I want to talk about it, Grandma," Lucy said with surprising firmness. "It's going to happen whether we talk about it or not, so I think it's better if we do talk about it." The wisdom in her words left both adults momentarily speechless. Lucy turned to Wyatt with those large, serious eyes. "Mr. Wyatt, can I ask you the question I really want to ask?" Wyatt nodded, not trusting his voice. "Will it hurt when I see Mama in heaven? I mean, I know you said it wouldn't hurt to go to heaven, but I'm worried that when I see Mama, I might cry so hard it hurts, because I've missed her so much." The question broke Wyatt's heart completely. Tears he couldn't hold back began streaming down his weathered cheeks as he realized what this brave little girl was really afraid of. Not death itself, but the overwhelming emotion of reunion. "Oh, Lucy," he said, his voice thick with tears, "I don't think it will hurt when you see your Mama. I think it will be like when you've been away from someone you love for a really long time, and then you see them again. Remember how happy you were to see your grandma at the hospital? I think it will be like that, but even better." "You really think so?" Lucy asked, studying his tear-stained face with concern. "Don't cry, Mr. Wyatt. I didn't mean to make you sad." "No, these aren't sad tears, sweetheart," Wyatt managed. "These are tears because I think you're the bravest, kindest person I've ever met, and I'm honored to be your friend." Lucy considered this, then patted his hand with the same gentle motion she'd used to comfort her grandmother. "I think you're brave too, Mr. Wyatt. Grandma told me you've been living all alone for a long time, and I think that takes a different kind of brave." As the afternoon wore on, they shared Elena's tamales on the front porch, watched the sunset paint the desert mountains in brilliant colors, and talked about everything and nothing. Lucy's energy began to flag as evening approached, but her spirits remained high. "This has been the best day," she said as they prepared to leave. "Thank you for letting me meet your horses, and for being my friend, and for not being afraid to cry when I asked you hard questions." "Thank you for asking me hard questions," Wyatt replied. "And Lucy, I want you to know that you'll always be welcome here. Any time you want to come see the horses, or just sit on the porch and watch the sunset, you have a place here." As Elena's car pulled away, Lucy waved from the back window until the tail lights disappeared into the darkness. Wyatt stood alone on his porch, but for the first time in 15 years, he didn't feel lonely. Over the following weeks, Lucy and Elena became regular visitors to the ranch. Some days, Lucy felt strong enough for horse adventures and long conversations about ranch life. Other days, she was content to sit quietly with Buttercup or rest on the porch while Eleanor and Wyatt talked softly nearby. Each visit was precious, and each one carried the unspoken knowledge that their time together was limited. But Lucy's courage and joy in simple moments taught both adults how to focus on the present rather than dwelling on an uncertain future. 3 weeks after that first visit, on a particularly difficult day when Lucy was too weak to leave her bed, Elena called Wyatt with a request that would change everything. "She keeps asking for you," Elena said, her voice heavy with exhaustion and grief. "She wants to tell you something important, but she's too tired for visitors to come to the hospital. I know it's a lot to ask, but would you consider coming to town?" "I'll be there in an hour," Wyatt replied without hesitation. He found Lucy in the pediatric ward, looking tiny and fragile in the large hospital bed, but her eyes still held that familiar spark of curiosity and love. Elena sat beside her, holding her granddaughter's small hand. "Mr. Wyatt," Lucy's voice was weak but filled with joy. "You came." "Of course I came, sweetheart. Wild horses couldn't keep me away." Lucy smiled at his choice of words. "I wanted to tell you something really important." Wyatt pulled up a chair and took her other hand in his. "I'm listening." "I'm not scared anymore," Lucy said with quiet certainty. "About heaven, I mean. You helped me understand that it's going to be okay." "I'm so glad, Lucy. But there's something else. I want to ask you to take care of Grandma after I go to see Mama. She's going to be really sad and lonely, and I think you understand about being lonely." Wyatt felt tears spring to his eyes again, but he managed to keep his voice steady. "Lucy, are you asking me to be your grandma's friend?" "Yes, but more than that. I want you to be family to each other. Real family, like we've been these past few weeks." Elena started crying quietly, and Lucy reached over to pat her grandmother's hand with the same gentle gesture she'd used so many times. "Grandma, you know I'm right. Mr. Wyatt needs people to take care of, and you need someone to take care of you, and I think you like each other already." The perceptiveness and maturity of this 6-year-old continued to amaze everyone around her. "What do you say, Mr. Wyatt?" Lucy asked. "Will you promise to take care of my grandma? And Grandma, will you promise to take care of Mr. Wyatt?" Both adults nodded through their tears, understanding that they were making a commitment not just to Lucy, but to each other. "Good," Lucy said with satisfaction. "Now I have one more question, but it's not a sad one." "What is it, sweetheart? Do you think Buttercup would like to come visit me here? I know horses don't usually come to hospitals, but she's so gentle, and I would really like to say goodbye to her properly." Wyatt looked at Elena, who nodded through her tears. "I'll talk to the doctors," he said. "If there's any way to make it happen, we will." 2 days later, with special permission from the hospital administration and Dr. Rodriguez's enthusiastic support, Wyatt led Buttercup through the hospital corridors to the pediatric ward. The gentle mare, as if sensing the solemnity of the occasion, walked with unusual quietness and dignity. Lucy's face lit up with pure joy when Buttercup's golden head appeared in her doorway. Other children in the ward gathered to watch as the horse carefully approached Lucy's bed, lowering her head so the little girl could stroke her neck one last time. "Thank you for being my friend, Buttercup," Lucy whispered into the mare's ear. "Take good care of Mr. Wyatt for me." That evening, as Lucy grew weaker, she asked Wyatt to tell her again about heaven, about her mother, and about how it wouldn't hurt when she saw her mama again. "I think," Lucy said drowsily, "that when I see Mama, she's going to tell me all about the horses in heaven, and maybe she'll tell me that she's proud of me for being brave." "She's already proud of you, Lucy," Wyatt said, his voice thick with emotion. "The whole world is proud of you." Lucy smiled peacefully. "Mr. Wyatt?" "Yes, sweetheart. Thank you for finding me when I was lost in the desert, and thank you for helping me not be scared anymore. Thank you for finding me too, Lucy. Thank you for teaching me what it means to have a family." Lucy closed her eyes, still smiling. "I love you, Mr. Wyatt. Take care of Grandma for me." "I love you too, Lucy, and I promise." Lucy Martinez passed away peacefully that night, surrounded by the 2 people who loved her most. Her final gift to them was the family bond she had insisted they form, a connection that would sustain them both through the grief that followed and the healing that would eventually come. At Lucy's funeral, Wyatt stood beside Elena, no longer 2 strangers brought together by tragedy, but family united by the love of an extraordinary little girl. The church was filled with people whose lives Lucy had touched in her brief 6 years, but none more profoundly than the lonely rancher who had found his greatest purpose in caring for a child who wasn't afraid to ask the hardest questions. In the weeks and months that followed, Elena moved to the ranch, bringing with her the warmth and life that the old house had been missing. She tended a garden, cooked meals that filled the kitchen with the sense of home, and kept Lucy's memory alive through stories and traditions. And Wyatt, who had spent 15 years believing he was meant to live alone, discovered that sometimes the greatest gifts come in the smallest packages, in the form of a 6-year-old girl who taught him that love, not loneliness, was what made life worth living. Every evening at sunset, Wyatt and Elena would sit on the front porch and remember Lucy's laughter, her courage, and her unshakable belief that heaven was just another place where love lived. And in those moments, surrounded by the desert beauty Lucy had found so enchanting, they knew that she had been right about everything, including the fact that they belonged together as family. The little girl, who had asked if it would hurt when she saw her mama in heaven, had left behind a legacy of love that would comfort and sustain them for all their remaining years. And somewhere among the stars that lit up the vast Arizona sky, they liked to imagine Lucy riding golden horses and telling her mama all about the family she had created through the pure power of love. Thank you for joining us on Lucy's remarkable journey of courage, love, and family. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up and tell us in the comments which city you're watching from. We love connecting with viewers around the world. Don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories that celebrate the power of love to heal and transform lives. Until next time, remember that sometimes the smallest among us teach us the greatest lessons about what it truly means to live and love without fear.